Good evening. We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. At this time, our clerk will read the roll.
Bolden.
Aye.
Boys.
Aye.
Connor. Davis. DeShazier.
Aye.
Fusco. Garrett.
Present.
Hannah.
Aye.
Kamer. Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, would you please stand at this time as we are led in prayer by Pastor Dwayne Krabs of South Street Ministries and also serving as the chaplain for Akron Fire. Immediately following our prayer, I'm going to ask if Councilwoman Davis will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we pause to thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to be here today. We have strong feelings and concerns about decisions that are going to be made tonight. And we just ask that you would guide the council, give them wisdom. Disagreements are expected, but to be disagreeable is not needed. We just pray that we could express our opinions, both as citizens, as well as we watch the decisions that are made on our behalf through the council. And we trust that you will guide them. We trust that facts and evidence will guide the decision that will be best for our city, and we recognize not everyone will be happy. Again, this evening is in your hands. We ask for peace in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The motion to approve the minutes passes 12-0.
We'll now move to our public comment period. All of those who have signed up to participate, I'm going to ask that you please stand at this time so that you may be sworn in by our clerk.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do.
I decree I do not swear.
Thank you.
Just going to ask that when you hear your name, that you approach the podium. You will be given 3 minutes to speak to this body. We do want to remind you that this is an official meeting, and we are going to begin with George Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to yield my time to Mr. Eric Palmer.
I'm Eric Palmer from WM. We are here because the existing Fountain Street transfer station should be decommissioned. It's a grandfathered and outdated facility that was never designed to handle the waste of the city of Akron's Hardy Road landfill. But I need to clear some things up. WM operates Fountain Street in the best condition that is possible and meets all the requirements of the Ohio EPA, its operating license, and all laws and regulations of the city of Akron, the state of Ohio, and the federal government. WM has not ignored neighbors' complaints through the years. Rather, WM has listened to Fountain Street neighbors and has done its best to make things better, but the constraints of this antiquated facility, the size of the site, and most importantly, the proximity to residential neighbors makes the design impossible to improve on or modernize. Furthermore, the Ohio EPA siting criteria makes it unallowable. We know there are better ways to operate a transfer station. Modern transfer stations, like Oakwood, which does handle household waste, differs greatly from Fountain Street. I've spent the last several months talking about why and how a modern state-of-the-art transfer station is better, with its updated design, materials, technologies to prevent odors, noise, and traffic impacts to the neighborhood. But if you decide tonight to either delay your vote or no vote, the decommissioning of Fountain Street and the $20 million construction of a new transfer station will not be possible. Delaying your vote will not lead to uncovering any new information. WM has been at this for years that We've combed the city for sites. We've spent several months preparing documents, engaging experts at the Archwood property to show that we meet the conditional use criteria. Further delay or a no vote will only lead to continued operations at Fountain Street indefinitely. I want to make this clear. Our conversations with the neighbors will not cease. WM is committed to listening to and speaking with the neighbors at Archwood and Fountain Street. WM is willing to form a citizens advisory council to meet every 6 months, which will include direct conversations between regulators, residents, business owners, and other members of this board. We are investing approximately $20 million in East Akron. We want the neighborhood to be great. We remain committed to building trust and being a supportive member of this community as we see this through. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Vince Crawford?
Good evening, members of council. I'm Vince Crawford with WM. My business address is 389 Fountain Street. I want to thank you for the opportunity tonight as you consider our application for the conditional use permit. As someone who's been with WM for 24 years now, I can say with certainty that I'm proud to be part of the company we are today. We are the industry's leaders in safety, environmental compliance, and putting people first. This has been a long road to get here tonight, and I want to say thank you to so many people in this room, residents and city officials alike, that have come to take time to meet with us, to tour our facility in Oakwood that is a good representation of what we intend to bring to Archwood. It's important to note that the Oakwood facility does receive garbage, trash, waste, refuse, or the term we generally use in this industry, solid waste. It is also a recycling facility. Both processes happen at that site, with twice as much solid waste being received as recycling. Also important to note is that the mayor of Oakwood Village has provided a letter of support that was submitted with our original packet to you. In that letter, he confirmed that we are good corporate citizens and good neighbors. This has been a good process of engagement. We've met with city council, the wards, different neighborhood organizations that we've met with. We've heard from both sides, and we are committed to continue engagement with the residents and support neighborhood initiatives. A yes vote tonight will bring a $20 million solution in a facility that's designed correctly, positioned correctly, buffers operations correctly, and will lead to the decommissioning of Fountain Street. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Crawford. And I apologize if I mispronounced the name. He already got up. He knew he was next. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Majid Makhlouf, 3201 Enterprise Parkway, Beechwood, Ohio. I'm legal counsel to WM. WM is the leading operator of transfer stations in the waste management industry. It successfully operates 332 transfer stations. It is the expert on how to plan, site, and operate a modern transfer station. And it engages the foremost experts in its industry to help design and build its facilities. In May, WM filed a complete application for a conditional use permit for a transfer station on Archwood Avenue, including the written narrative required by the city's ordinance. The application met and continues to meet the 8 criteria that City Council must consider to approve a conditional use permit. WM then supplemented its application with multiple expert reports. These reports are not required by ordinance, but WM provided them and also provided testimony from the experts at the council hearing. The lawyer representing some property owners that opposed the application cross-examined these experts. He presented his client's own case, including a purported expert testimony from a broker, and the opponents rested their case without asking for more time to present any additional evidence or experts. In brief, they simply waived any rights to do so. Those opponents are now calling for council to further delay making a decision. They even want the council to engage its own experts, and they will help pay for those experts. If the council decides to take more time and to hire its own experts, I want to be very clear about this, it will create a dangerous precedent for the integrity of the city's conditional use permit process. It is unlawful for the council to engage its own experts. Nothing in the city ordinance allows for this. The applicant has the burden of proof, and WM has more than met its burden. Opponents are also calling for more time to continue community conversations. In May, before it filed its application, WM worked with the city and multiple council members, including Councilman Hanna, to set up meetings about the transfer station. We wish that there had been greater cooperation. Last week, WM did attend a Ward 5 meeting to talk with and listen to the residents about its proposal. After that meeting, we spent an hour talking with Pastor Harrison, the meeting moderator, and the lawyer for the group, Avery Friedman, and we wish for that process to continue. But I want to end with this. We are entitled to a decision on the application. WM has met its burden. We look forward and respectfully ask the council to vote on the application this evening. Thank you.
Kate Duncan.
Good evening. I'd actually like to yield my time to Ransom Lane from WM.
You guys coming? Good evening. My name is Ransom Lane, and I'm actually with WM, been there for 3 years. I want to start off by saying I actually love East Akron community. I'm actually from there. I'm proud of the community. I understand the struggles and the sacrifices that the community has been through. I grew up there and understand the generational sacrifices that helped me be the person I am today. I've also grown to love this company and our commitment to servicing our customers and our environment. I work in customer solutions, and I'm proud to represent the community at WM and also represent WM, our community to WM as well. The reason why I love WM is the community is also we focus on the right values and also our people which drive the culture. That's what's important. WM also focuses on safety and the environment. We talk about it every single day. It's no coincidence that WM is successful in the communities that they serve. In my 3 years in the role, I've been supported by WM. We actually walked away from business because the way I was treated or how the customer made me feel, and that was big for me. In closing, I want to say, again, I love this community. I have a lot of family that still lives in this community, and I'm excited about the investment that WM is bringing to the community. To see WM invest, collaborate, and build a new state-of-the-art transfer station warms my heart. So many companies have left the community and not done the right thing. WM coming to the community and wanting and having a desire to do the right thing is powerful. WM also has a lot of partnerships and resources that we can benefit from in the community, as well as our teamwork and then our passion just to do the right thing. That's all I have. And actually got a couple guys up here as well that
And I'm sorry, we're only going to allow you to, thank you, because we have
Thank
other
you.
people who've signed up. I appreciate it.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you guys. Thank you for your time.
Next, Melinda Mace. And just to correct that, Margaret, you're going to be reading a statement from Melinda Mace.
That is
that
correct.
right?
That is
Okay.
correct.
All right, Margaret, go ahead. You can begin.
Good evening, council. And I do this with honor. Melinda has been wonderful in so many ways in our community. And thank you for doing what you do for the city. And with that, Belinda Mace is on Betty Street, and what she asked me to read here is, we know there's been a lot of information brought before you in a short period of time, some factual information and some inaccurate information, which we believe has given uncertainty among some of you, as well as some residents and businesses around the Archwood area. Here's a fact. Our group has researched transfer stations all over the United States for over 20 years. We have worked vigorously with WM, bringing our concerns to them, which they address successfully. One being a deeper tipping floor so that the doors can close when the trucks are in the building, as well as the state-of-the-art suppression system, odor suppression system. Facts Group would not be in agreement with this move if we thought the residents and businesses in the area of the proposed site would bear the burden as we've endured for 30 years. We respectfully ask that you put your personal differences aside and work together to move Akron forward with a new modern eco facility to handle all the trash needs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Margaret. Timothy Matney.
Hi, my name is Tim Matney. I work at the University of Akron, 302 East Buckle Avenue. I've been a resident of Akron for 26 years, and my office is located 0.6 miles northwest of the current Fountain Street facility. My window on the east edge of campus opens towards the waste transfer station, and from April till October each year, I work with my window open, like I did today. I've never smelled anything foul coming from the transfer station. On numerous occasions over the past decade, I've walked with colleagues or students to a restaurant at the corner of Exchange and Route 8, which is only 750 feet northwest of the transfer station, and again, we never experienced any unpleasant odors emanating from the nearby waste transfer station. I've listened to council and ward meetings and to the waste management presentation and question and answers for the Facts Group, which represents the most affected residents near the current Fountain Street site. I've learned that in the 26 years I've been an Akronite, Waste Management, WM, has made improvements to the facility to mitigate smells, vermin, and other problems suffered by neighbors in the 90s and 2000s. Still, that facility is a half century old and needs to be torn down, and a new facility needs to be built. When weighing the potential impacts on the businesses near the proposed Archwood facility, it's important to compare apples to apples. In the parking lot this evening, I saw neither Edsels nor Studebakers. They are a technology from a bygone era. Likewise, the technology of Fountain Street is ancient history. A new modern waste transfer facility with vigilant city oversight and strong environmental protections and ongoing community input located in an Akron City industrial park is a good common sense idea. We need to move on, and it is time to make the right decision, or at least make right the poor decisions that were made earlier by city planners and the city councils of the 1970s. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Megan DeLong. Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan DeLong. I live at 188 Jewett Street in Middlebury. I've been a Middlebury resident for over 5 years, and for 2 of those years, I was a community organizer working very closely with the residents of the area that was impacted by the current waste transfer station. Specifically, Betty, Heimbaugh and Heimbaugh Extension, Kraus between Fountain and Beaver, Gage Street and Gage Street Extension, and Corley Streets. All of these streets and the homes and families that are on them are to the east of the current waste transfer facility and Route 8. To give some context, within a half-mile radius, the University of Akron is to the northwest, as you heard from Tim. All of these families that live there have experienced vermin, terrible stench, and blowing trash. My friends have told me this. It went on for years, decades. All of them were engaged in one way or another with the facts group to protest and complain about the current waste transfer station to Summit County Public Health and the Ohio EPA. But over time, fences and closed container trucks reduced complaints about blowing trash and smell. Pest control took effect and vermin complaints stopped by this group. No resident outside of this area has complained officially or joined facts in protest. So, to give more context, if we were to map the current area of Middlebury on top of the Archwood area, this half-mile radius of all these homes and families that I mentioned are just on the east side of the current waste transfer facility. If you look at the half-mile radius around the proposed Archwood site the WM wants to purchase, there are railroad tracks, and just over those tracks into Ward 10, there's an adjacent junkyard business to the east. But there are no residents east of the proposed site in that half-mile radius. So, where you see University of Akron on a map of Middlebury, it's approximately in the same relative area of where Joy Park would be to the proposed Archwood facility. To this day, no one from the University of Akron has officially complained about the current station. So with that, these neighbors would not support this if the same things that happened 30 years ago, 10 years ago, or 5 years ago were going to also be able to happen to others right now. So that's all I have. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you do.
Megan, thank you so much for sharing. Apostolette?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Reverend Pamela Pinckney, the pastor of No Fear But God Fellowship Assembly Church Ministries, and you can find me on the Secretary of State's website if you need to find me. I'm new to Akron. I'm an apostolate doing something new. I'm a plaintiff in the United States courts and Cuyahoga County courts. One of the things I'm addressing is crimes against humanity, which this is one of them. I'm a presidential candidate for this election, and I have been one since August 1st of 2021. And you can take your $20 million back and keep it in your pocket, because we don't want it. If you have $20 million to put into Akron, give it to these council representatives for their communities, for their businesses in their communities. If you have $20 million that you can just fling around and throw around, put it into our school system. If you have $20 million that you just are just so loose with, I could think of some mothers that can use that money to get diapers for their children, and fathers who could use it to pay the electric bills in their homes if you have just $20 million to throw around. Now let's keep the law. My mother's an attorney. You attorneys who came up here with this bullying tactic, you're committing crime. You're violating Section 18 of the United States Constitution in 3 different components. The statute of limitation has not run out. So let's not try to bully the council and bully the community. And I heard you say that if they don't take the deal now, you're going to keep coming. What are you going to do? With Christopher Columbus move and with guns and take the police in and start murdering the people if they don't take this deal? What are you going to do? Yeah, all this showing up tonight, I don't see you showing up in these numbers to do something for Akron. And I see you had some black people come up here, but you know, it was black people that caught other black people and put them in nets and put them on slave ships and brought them to America against their will and against their rights. Charles Coachworth Pinckney owns a slave plantation in South Carolina, and those were the slave traders. The Pinckneys without the C are the slave liberators. So let's not use the black thing. You're wrong. This needs to be tabled. It should never even come to this council in the first place. And I heard you say that it needs repair. But if it's so wrong, You people, you attorneys and you people, see, I'm a suburban girl too, and a city girl too. I came up with the best of everything, and my parents have provided me the best. If it's not so bad, let's have that dump put in your backyard. If it's not so bad, put it next to your school and your church. If it's not so bad, let's see, put it in Green, put it in West Park, put it in the mayor's. As a matter of fact, before I close, I want to say, I don't see the mayor coming to any of these meetings.
Apostolate, I'm
or
so
addressing
sorry.
any of the concerns of the community.
Apostolate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And our council president, she can use that $20 million for her business.
Apostolate, please. Thank you. Brian Baker.
Hello, my name is Brian Baker. Business address is 1435 Triplet Boulevard, Akron, Ohio. I happen to represent roughly 45 acres, everything to the east of the proposed waste management project. We recently took over the Plant 5 Goodyear building, which that demolition has started. And I just feel obligated to, the similarities between the companies. Roughly 3 years ago, LKQ, which is the company I run in Akron, considered leaving based on space. We were looking at moving 220 jobs and roughly $11 million out of the city. The first recommendation was to disapprove our conditional use for the expansion. I gained a lot of respect from Ms. Connor, the amazing Ms. Connor, the board, zoning, everybody that took time, Mr. Mesner, who I haven't seen today, come out and looked at the location, what we do, that we're not what everybody likes to refer to as a junkyard. 30 days later, I was back in front of you. You approved our conditional use that's kept us in Akron. I'm happy to say, it's crazy that it's been 3 years ago, but we're underway with that demolition of the old structures now and looking to move forward. Waste management and LKQ have a similar stigma. Nobody in this room wanted a junkyard to get bigger. Everybody that didn't know anything about us hadn't seen us. With the work that was done to show what we're doing, you made the decision to keep us here. We personally, we have that stigma, we have to outrun it. They have to do the same as the trash company. We have community foundation funds that have donated thousands of dollars now to Haley's Run. We've looked for any community services we can, Akron Fire, Summit County Water, both training on the property that we're tearing down. What I think people are missing is that this company has to do the same thing. They have to engage with the community once they're here and actually make the community they operate better. That's our goal, and I have faith that that's our goal. But ultimately, I have faith that you guys will, I appreciate that you took the time, like you did with ours, to research this, and I believe you'll come up with the right decision. I think we're investing roughly $6 million in our property. They're looking at $20 million for a new property. That has been a blighted piece of property for quite a while, so it will be nice to see it develop. I currently deal with all the rainwater off of that property, so it's nice that they'll have a SWIP in place to maintain that and actually manage what's happening there. Other than that, I look forward to having my neighbors, and hopefully I don't have to be up here in front of you guys for a fourth or fifth time. Hopefully we get to vote.
Thank you so much, Mr. Baker. Thank you for sharing. Brian Lucy.
Good evening, Madam President, City Council members. My name is Brian Lucy, President of Fraternal Order of Police, Akron Lodge 7. I'm not here tonight to talk about WM, but I am here tonight to talk about the lack of support the men and women of this police department continually receive from the mayor and his administration. The citizens of Akron should be proud to know that while the administration continues to not support them publicly and second-guess the decision-making that we do, the men and women of this department continue to suit up and show up every day, respond to calls for service without delay, and continue proactive police work to prevent crime from happening. They risk their lives and their freedom every day to protect the people of this city. Other cities that have treated officers this way have not been so lucky. Secondly, I want to talk about why anyone continues to give Ray Green from Freedom Block a platform to speak on. This is the same Ray Green that called for gang members to take up streets in the streets of Akron. The same Ray Green who blatantly lied about police misconduct a few years ago during protest, which was all proven a lie through our body-worn cameras. Furthermore, I find it disturbing that at-large Councilman Eric Garrett aligns himself with such radical individuals. Last I checked, the only people who create a list of demands are terrorists and hostage takers. Councilman Garrett continues to be critical of the Akron Police Department. He makes inaccurate statements about the FOP, but has never reached out to talk or to get a better understanding or perspective of what our officers deal with in the city on a daily basis. I want to challenge Councilman Garrett, Ray Green, Judy Hill, Amokai Okolo, and any other critic of the Akron Police Department to participate in our Citizens Police Academy or come do some scenario-based training and let's see what kind of decisions you make when faced with a potential threat. Please reach out to me and I'll make this happen. Also, this was a quote from Councilman Garrett before he was elected. Akron has lost 1,000 people in population for over 30 years. Why? Because crime is out of control, our schools are failing, there is little opportunity. The relationship between law enforcement and the people in this city is broken. And the only way we move forward as a city is to repair that relationship. Well, Councilman Garrett, I would say your comments are failing, or helping that fail. Your anti-police rhetoric certainly is not helping our recruitment or retention problem. And since we're talking about Akron Public Schools in that statement, let's go right into this. I suggest that the officers of Akron Police start wearing body-worn cameras immediately to protect themselves from false allegations from the likes of Superintendent Robinson. If officers were equipped with these body-worn cameras, they would have captured Robinson threatening to have a student arrested for not going into the building about a month ago. That's not a law we can enforce, so the superintendent intentionally threatened a student and used the officer to try to do this. Maybe the superintendent should read page 9 of the contract between the city and APS, which states, SRO shall not, at the pleasure of the school administrators, or not arrest at the pleasure of school administrators or staff.
Mr. Lucy, I'm so sorry, but your 3 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. That concludes our public comment period for this evening. I want to thank all those who came down and participated. Council, before you is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The consent agenda passes 13-0.
We'll now move into old business. We'll ask our clerk to read in item number 1. I'm sorry.
It's an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct and operate a refuse and recycling transfer station and trash hauling business at 1400 East Archwood Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Hanna?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few years ago, the Sheetz gas station was trying to build a large truck stop on Route 8 North. Attorney Tom Bevan and the residents protested this idea, and the company had to find another location. In Sunday's editorial of the Akron Beacon Journal, it reads, no more dumping on East Akron. Residents deserve better. It further says, no one wants a waste facility in their backyards. At the ward meeting this past Thursday, the residents were concerned about their property values. This transfer station would drastically reduce property values. Waste Management said it would not, but you know that it would, and that's not true. Residents were concerned about the increased traffic coming to your neighborhood and their streets. The residents were concerned about the smell, the rats, and rodents that this transfer station would bring to this neighborhood. The residents in Ward 5 have spoken. When are we going to start listening? I asked that question again. When are we going to start listening at the residents? Let's pump the brakes for putting this waste transfer station in Ward 5. Again, I say, let's pump the brakes for putting this waste transfer station in Ward 5. I hope that the city and the waste management will be able to find another location that will replace the Fountain Street location, but not in Ward 5. I'm asking for time from council.
Councilman, are you making an official motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion for time.
Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay. And before we go for the vote, I just want to say, first to those who live around the Fountain Street, there is no doubt that that facility needs to be decommissioned. The fact that it has gotten that bad is deplorable. And that's just not on WM, that's also on the city. And so I always want to apologize to all of you for having to live in those types of conditions for as long as you have, and I'm sorry. I also want to say that I appreciate the meeting that was held in Ward 5 on Thursday. But the reality is, when we talk about a topic that is so controversial, that is so sensitive, it's hard to do that with just one meeting, right? Other cities across the country put together this Citizens Council, right, at the beginning of the process, right, to engage residents, to make sure that residents feel as if they are a legitimate partner in the process of finding an appropriate and best place to deal with trash in the city. And I think it was a missed opportunity that we weren't able to do that in the beginning of the process. And I think that's why we're kind of asking for time. I appreciate Eric from Waste Management, who reached out to me this morning and really shared something that I wish they would have shared in the very beginning, that they don't just come to neighborhoods and bulldoze, right? But they do come and they want to provide benefits to the community. And I just wish they would have shared that up front, because I didn't know that. And when you don't share that, I just assume that that's just how you do business. And so I think that's why we're asking for some time, so that we can have a meeting, we can have a conversation, we can put together a citizens council who can look at these things. The fact that we're getting ready to vote on conditions that the community didn't even have an opportunity to have some say and input in, you know, is unfortunate, because again, this is their neighborhood, this is where they live, this is where they operate their business. And again, we should be a city, in my mind, that we do things with the community, not to them, right? We're trying to make sure that no one has to go through what the poor folks have for going through around Fountain Street again, right? That's what we want to make sure of. And so even if the community didn't have an opportunity to have input on the conditions, the community at least should have been able to establish a community benefits agreement with Waste Management. I mean, we're talking about bringing trash into a neighborhood where people live, right? We're talking about bringing trash to a neighborhood where people operate their business. And in good faith, right? And when you do good business, just to sit down with the residents and have an agreement to say it's not going to be all take. The community's not going to have a whole bunch of losses, but to allow the community to see what benefits they can have and how they can work with Waste Management, and how there can be an opportunity for Waste Management to be a good neighbor in the community. And I think that's all the community is asking for. And I know in terms of on the city side, these benefits, community benefit agreement, I'm hoping that when we proceed with any type of plans like this, again, as a city, we lead with that and say, this is just good practice, it's just good business, and this is how we should treat our residents, and this is how we should come into the community, bringing everybody to the table. And so again, I know we have a motion, I know we have a second on the floor. I see Councilwoman Amobian's hand.
I'm rising just to say that I can only speak for myself. It's unfortunate that those of us who have been down here a long time did not take the opportunity to engage Ward 5 residents in this discussion some time ago. and I blame myself for not asking a lot of questions. However, I have driven by Fountain Street so many times and finally went into that area more deeply to see where people have been living for years. And then when I drive to Archwood and I see all of this space and I see that the area is an industrial area, for me, it's a no-brainer. However, I don't think whatever the vote is tonight will stop or should stop the discussion with the residents of Ward 5. I'm willing to admit that we dropped the ball some 6 months or a year ago when discussions should have been had before this last agreement or lease or whatever it is expired. I would like for us to just move on and get something done to correct what we didn't do about a year ago. So I am prepared to vote for us to move forward, even knowing that it appears that discussion is ending when I don't think it is, and it shouldn't end after this vote. We have to have a trash pickup, a trash container, a trash station somewhere in our city, somewhere nearby. I have heard that there were many locations identified and they provided reasons why they were not acceptable. So with all of that, and with the acknowledgement that this is as much my responsibility as a council person at large as it is for the rest of us who have been sitting here for years. I'm willing to take responsibility for that, but I just want to move on so we can get this done. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. I have been doing my due diligence for the past 30 days on this issue, and it's been tough. I've done the site visits multiple times. I've even met with members of the facts group, the administration. I've reached out to my council members to, express my concerns. I've read every article that has been sent my way, and I've also looked up other articles, because this has been tough, okay? And I believe that Waste Management is trying to be a good steward for the residents of Ward 5. And I was fully prepared to support this legislation until last Thursday. If it's taken me a month or so to dig into data and try and comprehend it all, I don't expect that the residents of Ward 5 is going to comprehend that in a 2-hour passionately driven meeting, okay? So I feel strongly that we have to be inclusive. We have to allow the residents their say and the opportunity to look at this piece by piece, offer their constructive criticism, hear back from Waste Management. So we've got to be inclusive. Other than that, that's the only piece that's missing for me, that we didn't allow the residents the opportunity. So with that being said, I, in my heart, cannot support it because that was not done.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Fusco. Sorry.
I'm okay in my
I'm sorry.
skin. Thank you. It's all good. No, I appreciate and the fact that now, finally, after all these years, the spotlight appeared on Fountain Street. Since the beginning of my tenure with the city, I have worked with the folks on Betty Street, the folks in the neighborhood. They're the ones, and it wasn't me, it wasn't my predecessors, the predecessors in Ward 5, it wasn't us that moved the ball. It was the people in the neighborhood that got Waste Management at the time to do something about the fencing around it, to do something about the vermin, to do something about the noise, to do something about the smell. We have received, and again, like I said, I was just a vessel, just went to the city, say, let's do something, let's do something. And finally, after all this time, something is getting done. I am speaking against time. That's what the focus should be here. And we have had an unprecedented 9.5-hour meeting to discuss this issue, to listen to everything on this issue. Unprecedented. I've never heard of that kind of a meeting in our chambers here, a public hearing lasting that long. And the volume of expert testimony that we've received, the volume of concerns that we've received, dating back really to June. And many of us was provided an opportunity to go to visit the new facility. It's apples and oranges, okay? The new facility, the technology is such, and if you went there and you talked to them and you listened and you watched and you had seen what exactly has been improved upon. I remember what Fountain Street was like. I remember what that was like when I first started. And now you see what that is today. It's so much better, it's so much more improved. And I mean, I got, I guess my phone number and a couple other council members, our phone numbers were out there. And hey, unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of calls. But thank goodness, last week we got the concerns that was brought forward. Absolutely. But in terms of taking time, I think this is just the beginning. I don't think this is the end. I think this is the beginning. I think we heard Waste Management say they are investing in the community and they want to be part of it, just like LQK. This is a new business model. This is a brand new business model for Waste Management, who are now WM. They get it. They get it. And so now, with all the time that back in July was the Planning Commission meeting, I believe. And so it's been some time. But I don't think the discussion and the work with the community has to end here. I don't think it does. I think it's just beginning. And so I'm speaking against time.
Thank you. Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. Obviously, over the last couple weeks, I've stood here on council floor and went on the record and said, I support this. I do think it's a good move, a great move, actually. It seems like every day, every week, I continue to learn more. 2 weeks ago, I stood here and I said, I'm for this conditional use and I'm ready to move forward. But President Somerville, I supported you as president and you continue wanting to take time. So I'm going to continue to support you and the leadership that you have in council chambers on this. And I would encourage, I know we could vote for this today, and it seems like WM's coming out, wanting to step up more and more and be more active in the community and engage the residents and give back to the community. And I would like to see that, hopefully sooner than later. So moving forward, like I said, I've been on board with this. I really think it's a great move, but I'll continue to support the president that I voted for back in December of last year to lead us during these 4 years. And right now, I'll continue to support you with taking time for right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other comments at this time before we call for the vote? Councilman McKittrick?
Just question on the motion.
Okay. I'm sorry, Councilwoman, did you have a comment? Okay. So we have a motion and we have a second for time. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Nay. We're going to call a roll call.
Bolden?
No.
Boys?
Nay.
Connor? Davis?
Aye.
DeShazier?
Aye.
Fusco?
Fusco. You call his name?
Fusco? Nay. Garrett?
Nay.
Hannah?
Aye.
Kamer? Lombardo?
Nay.
McKittrick? Nay. Amobian?
Nay.
And Somerville.
Aye.
The motion does not pass. There were 5 ayes and 8 nays.
Thank you. Councilman McKittrick or Councilman Fusco? No other motions?
I would like to make a favorable motion on the ordinance.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Aye. Roll call.
Bolden?
Aye.
Boyes?
Aye.
Connor? Davis?
Nay.
DeShazier?
Aye.
Fusco? Garrett?
Aye.
Hannah?
Nay.
Kamer? Lombardo?
Aye.
McKittrick?
Aye.
Amobian?
Aye.
Somerville.
Nay.
The motion passes 10-3.
Okay. We're going to continue with our old business, planning and economic development. Councilman Fusco.
Yes, the committee wishes to take time on 1 through and including, well, actually 1. I'm sorry, 1 through including 7. We voted on those. 8 through 12, time and file items. Item number, where the hell's the number at? The petition for the conditional use on Flora Avenue, file. There's numbers on here. The next item, 14. Take time on 14, file 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. File all those. Those are the petitions for conditional use. And time on the balance of the agenda.
Thank you so much. That concludes our old business. Before we move into new legislation, and I'm so sorry, I meant to do this at the top of the meeting, we do have a special guest with us, and I want Councilman McKittrick to introduce her.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a foreign exchange student that's here. The Molnars, Dr. Renee Molnar and her husband Barrett have hosted, this is the 6th exchange student that they've hosted there. Dr. Molnar is on the school board at this time, and Donna, who is from Kazakhstan, has come here and is shadowing to see what things are like in government politics. And I'd just like to give her a moment just to explain why she's come to Akron.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for having me. My name is Dana Nukmanova. I'm 17. I'm senior at Firestone Community Learning Center, but most importantly, I'm a foreign exchange student from Kazakhstan and participant of scholarship program founded by U.S. Department of State called Future Leaders Exchange. So I've wanted to become an exchange student for the past couple of years, mostly because of opportunities that my stay in the U.S. Can provide me with. While being an ambassador and representative of my country, of Kazakhstan, I also want to be a global citizen with different perspectives on this world and unique experience of exploring different cultures. I'd like to point out that being here in this community in Akron for just 2 months has already opened my eyes to many new ideas, and I want to learn more. I've always aimed to be engaged in the community I'm in, whether it's my hometown or my host town, Akron. So thanks for having me here. I'm really glad to be at this meeting, and thank you for welcoming.
Well, again, welcome to Akron, and thanks for visiting us tonight. And the way that you walked up to the mic and commanded the whole room, We know that we got a good future leader here. We're now going to move to our new legislation, starting with public service.
Item number 1, offered by Councilman Fusco, ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title IX General Provisions, Chapter 101, Trees and Shrubs, Section 101.13, Tree Commission of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer,
Consent agenda.
this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 2, offered by Councilman McKittrick, resolution declaring that the 6 towing companies that submitted their interest and qualifications for service in a designated towing district, as set forth in Section 70.52 of the Akron Codified Ordinances, have met the requirements for assignment thereto and will therefore be assigned a towing district as part of City Council's 2024 review of the designated towing districts and declaring an emergency.
Councilman McKittrick,
The committee's report's favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Back a few years ago, when council re-examined all the tow districts, there was legislation passed that said we would re-examine at this time in '24, and it's really needed at this point because out of 7 tow companies, we lost Greg's Towing, so we have 6 now, and so this will help restructure the districts to make them more efficient. We're asking for passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This resolution passes 13-0. Item number 3, offered by McKittrick, ordinance ratifying the actions of the mayor or his designee in contracting with Vanderveer Chevrolet for the purchase of a new vehicle to be used as the Akron Fire Department dive rescue vehicle, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency.
Councilman McKittrick,
The committee's report is favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an antiquated piece of equipment that we have. It's 27 years old and it's got 90,000 miles on it. As we've seen in the past, we've had issues with our safety forces trying to buy pieces of equipment without having to wait 2 or 3 years to be able to obtain that. In this point, they were able to find this at that dealership, and so they were moving forward, and we're asking for passage to be able to replace that older vehicle.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Amobian, did you have a comment?
I just had a question. 90,000 is all after 27 years?
Emergency response vehicles, quite a bit different, and it's quite an old.
Oh, I'm not disputing that, but 27 years and 90,000, yeah, let's change it. But great.
Okay, thank you. So the rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 13-0.
That concludes our new legislation for this evening. We'll now move into committee assignments. Rules, Councilman McKittrick.
2 p.m.
Public Safety, Councilman McKittrick.
2:15.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Lombardo.
3 p.m.
Parks and Recreation, Councilwoman Connor. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco. Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco.
3:30.
Public Service, Councilman Kamer.
2 p.m.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian.
2:30.
Is there anything else coming before council at this time? Councilman McKittrick?
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly, I just want to give thanks to our members of finance who came to my ward meeting. Steve Fricker was there, Helen Tomick, and Mike Wheeler. They were at the meeting. They really engaged the crowd. They gave a presentation about the upcoming budget and how it works, and what the different buckets were for, and all the sub budgets for all the different departments and so on. And they had a nice presentation where they had bulletin board with different buckets where it was going to go, and gave stickers to the residents to be able to place them where they thought what they felt was the most important. It was very engaging. I had some great questions from the residents there. their intention is to go out to the other wards. I'm really looking forward. I think that it's going to be great in all the different wards. And then they're going to come back and give us a presentation as to what overall what it was, the impression of the residents, what they thought was important. So thanks to Finance, and thanks for the time.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Garrett?
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the time today. Madam President, we had a gentleman come down to make some remarks. I guess he's the FOP president, doesn't even live in the city of Akron to have a say. I don't know if the gentleman or his team of folks had a chance to see the most recent settlement that our taxpayers have to foot their bill. Imagine if that was a firefighter, if that came out of their budget. Imagine if it came out of the budget for Chris Little's budget. But it comes out of Harding's, his organization. He needs to understand, Madam President, somehow, some way he has our current mayor in some type of a bind. But this gentleman, when you just think back and look at the culture of our police department, if you want to just go with the Signal 44, he's given a sign that it's okay to pay these lawsuits. Go ahead and shoot or kill a guy, 45 shots. Go ahead and body slam a girl. Go ahead and just body slam her. We'll pay that. The citizens will pay that bill. Shoot a 15-year-old kid in his hand. The citizens will pay that bill. Kill a guy over a $20 U-Haul truck. We'll pay that bill. But if you take a look at the demographic, Madam President, I think you and I both know that these are all black folks. All black folks. And I got sort of frustrated because I'm thinking, the chief of police should be the chief of police for 200,000 residents, not just 400 of his buddies. He's incapable of running his force. He's incapable. He can't punish. He can't criticize his force, his team. They're out of control. We have an organization that's out of control and terrorizing our neighborhoods. Totally out of control. How much more money do we want to spend? Now we have the young kid at the high school. We're going to pay for that. You're going to bust the kid in the back of his head? What are you doing? Once again, the demographic. He's black, Madam President. It's a pattern. We keep seeing it. We're going to keep seeing it. But as long as we're okay with the finance department saying it's okay, spend that money that way. But if you ask for some football money, if you ask for some housing money for these poor black folks, you ain't trying to get none of that. But what we're getting is more of this garbage from the FOP. I'm not afraid of them like Shamus. I'm not. I'm not at all. And they need to be called out. I can come down here and say, great job, police officer, for saving a kid from jumping off the Y Bridge. I can come down here and say, great job for saving a kid that's getting ready to do fentanyl, police officer. But the minute the steward of our tax dollars, say something about the rogue police officers that Harding is afraid to check or to call to order, what are we doing right now? How many more of our black kids are gonna die? And I really sit back and I think, well, maybe it's just a police thing. But if we were to ask right now, our colleagues, how many of us think that was wrong that that girl got body slammed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 black folks in the office on this thing. It troubles me that it's bigger than just the police department. It's our city, it's the whole culture. And it's time that we do something about it. We can't just keep looking the other way like it's okay. It is not okay. Because one day it's gonna be one of our kids. They are totally out of control. They are totally out of control. And we have to do something about it. We can't just give them praise when it's a good thing. But then I'm no confidence because I am saying something about our tax dollars? Really? No confidence. I am sick of that. And everybody in here should be as well. We're asking for him to resign. He's incapable. He looked the other way when it was Signal 44. He's looking the other way on all of these issues. You can't say the police officers should have turned on their sirens when they pulled this guy over in the U-Haul truck. You couldn't say that both of them shouldn't approach the vehicle on that side. You couldn't say not shoot him, maybe tase him. He's incapable of just criticizing them at all. Not one word. Not one word about what's happening with the kid getting punched in the back of the head after high school. Not one word. And you get Shamus talking about maybe a little bit more time. I need to look into it. Look into what? You can't believe your lying eyes. It is, Madam President, it is unconscionable. And I just wanted to bring that to the floor. I can't allow it to continue to go. The FOP has to spend time. They have to look at having a conversation and making this better. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilman, thank you so much for sharing. Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the opportunity. I have two topics to bring up, maybe three, since somebody's a mind reader. I would like to see if the administration can update the City Council on the animal control issue that I brought up over a month ago. For almost a year, the mayor has came up to me numerous times and told me I'd be part of this discussion, and I was fortunate enough to have discussions with the administration, with my colleague, Councilman Fusco. But that was over a month ago, and now I just hear crickets. I don't think you heard that. So I would like an update on that, please. Talk about the incident at Firestone CLC. I would like to request the contract that we have with APS, if that's available to us council members as soon as possible, please. I heard, and obviously this is what I heard, but I could be wrong, that APS won't allow the CSR officers to wear body cameras while they're in the school. So I would like to see the contract, if that's possible, that we have with the officers or with APS, please. And then I'd like to see, hopefully, Mr. Chair, that's doing a really good job at public safety. No, seriously, you're doing good. Today with the tow stuff, great job. I know what it's like. I would love it if you could see if we can get someone in here to talk about the BWC program. I actually was on that committee when we first brought out those body cameras. And I saw two officers in here tonight, and I'm not going against the officers. I want to protect our public and our officers, but I saw two in here without BWCs. I do see one in here currently that does have a body-worn camera. But where are those cameras? I mean, we need those cameras on our officers. I think we all probably agree on that. I don't know. We have like 14 to 18 officers in the schools. Currently, I believe, and I could be mistaken, but I was told we might have about 14 in the schools right now. And just think what a body-worn camera could have done, you know, with this incident at Firestone CLC. So today I was watching the news, and the president of APS said, now is the time to reevaluate our safety policies, practices, and attitudes towards our children. Now is the time to distinguish the roles of school security versus street policing. I think it's time to get those officers out of APS. It's time for APS to step up and hire their own security guards, their own security system. If that's how they feel about our Akron officers, let's bring them back onto the streets, because sure enough, we all need them in our city and in our neighborhoods. So moving forward, yeah, I would like to get an update on body-worn cameras. I'd like to see if I can get that contract that we have between APS and the city of Akron. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. But yeah, I stand by my comments today. What I would do is I'd bring those officers out. Then you can not have that situation in the future and let them hire security guards. And I think that's what APS should do. Thank you.
Councilman Bolden.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess I will say a couple words about Firestone last Wednesday. And don't know all the details, and I don't think any of us do. One of the things that we do have, while there is video of this, it is at the Mercy, it is at the public schools. One of the reasons that has not been let out is because there's a lot of kids involved there. And we cannot put kids that weren't involved in this on a video that goes public. My understanding is there are kids popping in and popping out of it. It's very difficult to do. We have not seen the video here. The mayor had a press conference today and talked about it and said he does need more time to see what's going on. Things that were said, that it is true that we do not allow our police to have body cameras in there simply because there are children there and everything will be, there are minors and those things will pop up. We need to take time to look at this and find out what the situation is, how it unfolded, and what exactly happened. Did a young man get hit? Yes, he did. And they've admitted that. That officer is on desk duty, is not going back into that school. It's been said so. We need to give time to the police department. We need to give time to the police advisory board that will look at this, I'm sure, and the schools to release the video. One question I asked, I don't know what the policy is on detection, on the metal detectors. If a child does not go in that, what do you do with them? If he goes in and it turns red, what do you do next? I've not been able to find that on the board documents anywhere online that I could find. I will be researching that and requesting that from the board to find out what that policy is. But I've got to trust that this will be investigated first before I start casting blame, and I hope we all can do that.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Amobian, and then Councilman Fusco.
Well, actually, I have two things, but I guess since everyone has been speaking, I'll just share this with you as well. The first thing I would share with you is that the Summit County Progressive Dems had a meeting, a subcommittee meeting the other night, and Mr. Kyle Julian, I don't think he's here right now, but came and gave a wonderful overview of all our housing projects that are going on in the city of Akron. The Issues Committee, which is the subcommittee that was meeting, is trying to figure out what the housing stock is like in Akron, because we hear so much about not having enough homes and places for individuals to live who are indigent. And we were trying to look at that. And he did a wonderful presentation, and they're still talking about it. And we will certainly invite him back to share more. But everybody was impressed with what's going on in Akron, and we know that we can go on and on about housing issues because we just don't have enough affordable housing. So that's one issue. The second issue is that I attended the Akron School Board meeting tonight, and it was a wonderful meeting. And I reminded them that now I know why I stayed so long on the board. We had wonderful discussions about children and how well they are achieving. They recognized the number of students that have read tons of books, over 300 books, and they recognized them at every grade level for doing that. And the principals and teachers, and it was just a real good, feel-good meeting. I was personally there to endorse their levy, which we haven't done as a council, and I would like for us to do that at least by next week, because we know that issue 27 is critical to the needs of our children. Regardless of what you think, if we don't have an educated citizenry in our city, we are in serious trouble. And for them to go for 12 years without asking the citizens of Akron to approve a levy is just phenomenal. I recognize that they got a few ARPA dollars, but still, there are so many unfunded mandates that the school system has to honor. At the state level, federal level, they're constantly making them do things that they don't send money down for them to do it with. But for them to go 12 years without asking the citizens to approve a levy is just unheard of. I mean, usually it's every 4 or 5 years that they're asking for money, and this is the first time in 12 years they're asking us to support a levy. So I'm asking all of the citizens of Akron, please vote for issue 27. And if it doesn't pass, it's coming to us again, because we have a responsibility to educate our children. So while I was there, they did talk about this issue at Firestone. And the superintendent has asked those 2 officers not to be renewed to be in their buildings. However, he has spoken with the mayor and some other officials here at the city level, and they are planning a meeting to review the contract and to make some decisions about how they move forward. So that is in the works. for them to look at it, how they're doing business, and what they're going to do next. So with that, I hope that we can support issue 27. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Fusco?
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Reference to schools. I just, a couple quick comments. The hour's getting late. Chief Harding has been there as the chief for 4 months. Granted, he was there before as an interim, but as someone who has served as an interim in a leadership capacity, such as in the breadth of something somewhat similar, it's very difficult to make decisions. You can't really do a whole lot because you have to realize that you have quite a few folks. You don't want to make significant decisions, okay? You just got to hold the fort. Hope you're going to, stay in there, and that's what's happened here. After he's been there for 4 months, crime is somewhat down in our city. The amount of park and walks, we're hitting 4,500, almost 4,500, from a pace of about 1,000, 1,500 a year ago and a year before that. But in terms of the use of force, there's work that's going to be done on that. There's work, and there's much more work that we need to do. There's no question about it. And the thing of it is, though, is I don't know, anyone here had family, friends that served in public safety altogether. You're praying and hoping that that person comes home. You have to make snap decisions just like that. Snap decisions. And you don't know if someone has a gun on them. We know the problems we're having with guns. You have no clue whatsoever what they have on them. And I know that the procedures are basically you ask them to stop, you ask them to do this, you ask, and then there's a point. And so I think reviewing our use of force, which is what we're doing from what I understand, with the input from the community is going to be done. These are ways you move the ball down the field. And the pace is painful. It's painful to get things done. We found that out tonight. Just ask the folks on Betty Street. It's painful, but it's got to get done. This work has to be done. But I don't think at this time we should be asking for our police chief, who's only been there for 4 months officially, to resign. I just can't digest that. I don't think it's right. I think we have to give him an opportunity to make the changes that he's been talking about. So that's the end of my comments, and I'd like to make a motion to adjourn unless somebody else has comments.
I see a couple of hands. I'm going to go over here to Councilman Garrett and then to Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. When it comes to us, it's always, let's just pull those officers out. Instead of giving them the training and having that real conversation, had it been a person that was not black, he wouldn't have been punched in the back of the head. Going to the ground, punched in the head. Thank God the school had those cameras. I mean, when we talk about a person, I don't care if you've been in a job for 4 months or 2 years. If you're not good at it, if you're not bringing about the results, you can make numbers show whatever you want them to show, Madam President. 40% up with excessive use of force. 40%. There's 40% more from 2023 to 2024. But it ain't in the white community. When you do the park and walks, the walk and talk or whatever, how many of them are in our community? That's right. None. Very little. Let me take the none back. Very little. And I'm not here advocating as if I'm some pro-black person that's with Freedom Bloc and he's with this person. I'm a United States veteran who fought for this country. And I didn't just fight for white folks or black folks. I fought for everybody. And I'm here on council to fight for everybody. But when the demographics suggest that we talk about a certain group and we look at trying to do something better, that's what the conversation needs to happen with the FOP. And it sort of frustrates me that everybody wants to hold on and not really say, hey, this police force needs some changing. We're spending all of this money. We're giving them everything they're asked for. A new workout facility. We're looking at a new building. But at what point in time, I had a chance, Madam President, to go to the memorial for the fallen officers. It was sad. It was sad. But how about I go to your funeral home and look at the fallen the black folks who are killed and murdered? How about I sit in a barbershop and listen to these people say, did you see the young 15-year-old kid get shot in the hand? Did you see the sister girl get body slammed? These are the conversations that we're really having, and we need to really sit down and talk about this as we move forward and how we look at this. It's a problem in our community, and we really need to look into it. And we talk about it's a rigorous process, and it takes a while. No choking people. No shooting folks. I don't care if they break the law. We all gonna break the law at one point in time, but it's not a death sentence, and it shouldn't be. So, Madam President, I'm hoping that as my colleagues will help us have these conversations that will make our city better, because it's costing us, it's gonna continue to cost us money. $5 million for the Walker family. Who knows what's getting ready to happen with the girl got body slammed? Who knows the amount of money we're going to get for this kid who happened in the school? Thank God the school had the cameras. We must do better, Madam President. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. I scratched my head. Where am I at? I was on council when I was on the committee for BWC. I was on council when I was out riding along with Akron police officers, and if I'm not mistaken, I've rode with them about 13 times since I've been on council. And we were actually in the Ellet area, and we stopped for a brief lunch, even though it was after midnight, but it was their lunch. And I asked the officers, I said, why don't you have body-worn cameras? And they're like, well, there's not enough to go around to all the patrol officers. So my former colleague, Veronica Sims, that is now our state representative, her and I sponsored legislation to make sure every patrol officer had BWCs. And as I stand here, I'm going to continue harping, and I'm amazed, and I understand what some people are saying. If it's in a contract or they're in the schools, pull the officers out. Let APS hire security guards. Pull the officers out, bring them out into the city streets so they can do city policing, city business. Now, my colleague, I probably just saved him a few $1 million so he don't have to continue talking about it. So that's it. I know I requested it about a meeting about BWCs, and I'm hoping we can have that meeting in the next week or two. But I still stand here firmly saying, let's bring the officers out, let APS hire security guards, and move on. That's it, you know?
Thank you, Councilman. I do believe that Councilman Fusco had a motion for adjournment. If there are no objections, meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.